Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about how strength athletes should warm up, and I'm going to give you 2 rules that if you follow them, every warm up you do, it's going to be perfect. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'd love your feedback at the end. Okay, so I think warm ups tend to go in one of 2 ways. You have the guys who ignore their warm ups completely, and you have the guys who spend way too much time warming up. And neither one is good. In the first situation where you don't warm up, A, you're increasing your risk of injury, B, you're decreasing your per session performance, which is decreasing your long term potential. In scenario B, you're wasting a ton of time and you're wearing yourself out, and the end result is the same. So you can't warm up too little, you can't warm up too much, you got to find kind of the right balance. So let me give you a couple examples. First example is the lifter who's benching 405 for his top set and he goes in and does 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, 4 plate. Well, that doesn't give you enough time, mentally or physically, to adjust the load that you're training that day. And I guarantee you that you're going to miss a rep. You're going to end up choosing the wrong weight for your top set if you're auto-regulating, or you're going to get hurt eventually. The other situation is the lifter who goes in and spends an hour doing cardio and foam rolling and hanging from the ceiling and it's like, okay, dude, like if you have all the time in the world, that's great, but spend it doing something productive, not wasting your time. Like you would literally be better off meditating. And after you've been training for an hour, that's an hour that you've gone without food. That's an hour where you've been depleting glycogen, where you've been, your pre-workout is toast by then. You've left all this potential on the table, and there's literally no reason for it except you got to talk to your friends for a little bit and hang from the ceiling. So we got to find a better solution. I'm going to talk about general warm-ups, which are important, but shouldn't take more than 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to talk about those in a separate video. In this video, I want to talk specifically about that 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, 4 plate scenario because, dude, I see that so often and it drives me nuts. One of the things I actually pride myself on as a coach is my ability to choose weights, both ahead of time if I'm planning somebody's session and then in the moment if I'm there coaching them in person. I think I'm pretty good at that. And I use 2 rules to do it. So the first rule is pretty simple, and I call it the 5% rule. The 5% rule says that your last 2 warm-up sets, the jumps, cannot be more than 5% of your top set. So we'll stick with 405 as that example. 25%, 405 is 20 pounds. So your last 2 warm-ups, those jumps are no more than 20 pounds. That means you're probably doing 365 and 385. This rule is really important. 2 reasons. First, it makes sure that you have at least 2 warm-up sets. Second, when you think about a competition, your last 2 warm-up sets, that's your opener in your second attempt, in most cases. So this ensures that you're training for something fairly similar to competition-style jumps in your training. 5% rule, like I said, pretty simple. The other rule is a little bit more complicated. This I call the rule of smaller jumps. And this says that each warm-up jump that you make has to be smaller than the previous jump. So let's start from the ground up. We'll say you start off with 135, right? That's what most people do. So you went from 0 to 135 for that, technically. Your next jump needs to be smaller than 135 pounds. Most people are going to go 135 to 225. That's a 90-pound jump. Your next jump has to be smaller than 90. Here's where it gets tricky. So it has to be smaller than 90. So you're not going 225 to 315. Maybe you're going 225 to 300. That's a 75-pound jump. Your next one's smaller than 375, right? So let's say it's a 60-pound jump. You go to 360, 385, 405, right? This ensures that you're building momentum warm-up set to warm-up set. And I find it's incredibly productive. I have never gone wrong using this rule. The problem is it's pretty complicated, right? You got to do some math to figure this out. So I've done the math for you. In the description below, I have a link to a calculator that will allow you to plug in your top set, allow you to select the number of warm-up sets you want to do, and it'll calculate everything that you should do. So that will make it very easy on you. I suggest doing this before you get to the gym so that you have that warm-up set planned in advance, and I'd really love to hear how you like it. All right, I got one last warm-up tip for you. A lot of times when I see people doing pretty decent warm-ups, in between those warm-ups, they'll be joking around with their friends, they'll be playing on their phone, they'll be dancing, and that's not the end of the world. Like, you should enjoy your training session. But if it's a heavy day and you need to be focused, you're probably leaving pounds on the table by doing that. So I suggest mandating a 30-second meditation in between warm-up sets. During your meditation, you're not focused on the lift itself, you're just focused on your breath. And it doesn't have to be your entire rest break, right? You can meditate for 30 seconds and then you can go joke with your friends. Or you can stare at the bar or play on your phone, whatever. But if you do those 30 seconds of meditation, it will help keep you focused from warm-up set to warm-up set and better prepare you for your top set.